Tran vividly remembers the mysterious shrine in the center of his childhood home.
My grandfather was an idol worshiper, and he'd worship his ancestors and set up altars in his home to worship the dead. And that's what I saw as religion, is praying to dead people.
Vu found the worship of the dead disquieting. The idols didn't make his family happy. The idols didn't fill the emptiness that Vu felt inside. So he looked to the streets for love and acceptance. The black sheep in his family were already there.
My uncles were my role model, going in and out of jail and living that fast life that I saw that was appealing to me, to be involved in crime and fast money. The gang members were the ones with all the power, and then no one messed with them. I was kind of like the mastermind behind it. Always the one that was plotting evil. I got close to going to jail, being caught with possession of firearms that were believed to be part of a robbery.
Vu controlled his gang by devising ingenious crimes. His smooth alibis foiled the police. But there was something in his life that Vu couldn't control.
I had this haunting fear of dying, and death was around the corner for me. When I was sober, the few occasions that I was sober, I would feel so empty and depressed and lonely, and I felt that death was around the corner. I knew that this lifestyle would result either in me dying on the streets or spending the rest of my life in prison.
There was another reason for Vu's morbidity. A fellow gang member went on a shooting rampage that killed several people. Vu began to reflect on his own life.
I'd realized that I was in the same gang, influenced in the same way, and that same anger and bitterness that he had in his heart was also in mine, and I saw that, and that kind of woke me up to reality that I might be the one out there shooting people up. I was spiritually darkened, but at the same time I was also spiritually hungry for truth, and knowing that there has to be more meaning to life than what I've been experiencing up to this point.
Vu's first Christian influence came from a television program. He was channel surfing one day and found the 700 Club.
I saw the 700 Club, and I began to listen, and I began to hear truth coming across, and I began to look at and examine who this Jesus is that they were talking about, to hear the truth of God's benevolence, His goodness, and He wanted the best for my life. This message of hope was a hope that is beyond human understanding. How can a God loves a sinner such as myself and a gang member that had done so much evil?
It wasn't long before Vu was ready to accept a friend's invitation to church.
On that day that I went to church, I realized that God had given me a choice between life and death. If I continue the way that I'm going to live without repenting, and that I'm sure enough I'm going to end up in jail or dead on the street somewhere. And so he gave the altar call at the end of his message, and I noticed the Spirit of God was dealing with me, and I lifted up my hands and I prayed, Jesus, if you're real, then change my life.
Vu says he chose life that day, but there were still temptations to overcome.
I started feeling conviction. I couldn't go back and do drugs anymore. I couldn't go back and party and live that illicit lifestyle I did anymore without feeling the conviction that God is not pleased that I've surrendered my life to Him and I'm still conducting in this type of manner. I think one of the hard lessons that I had to learn was forgiveness. I had a lot of hatred in my heart. God brought me through a lot of circumstances to change me.
Vu is married with a young daughter today. He's a prosperous business owner who's more likely to earn a good citizenship award than a place on law enforcement's most wanted.
I don't know where to start as far as the joy in my life now that I have, and the peace that I have knowing that I'm right with God and that He's given me a purpose and a hope. God can touch anyone and change anyone, regardless of what you've done. All you have to do is come to Him. And that's the thing about God, is that His grace is able to change the hardest heart. And that's what I've seen in my life.